Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. My name is Saimah and welcome to Saimah's Experience. In this video, I'm going to go over the one thing that you need to try before you buy a car for Turo, whether you're on your first car or your fifth car, it doesn't matter. This is something that I always do before I make any purchase ever. It is so extremely important and crucial. Once again, I just want to thank you guys for all the support that you guys show for every video that I make. And if you are enjoying this channel and you like this video, just make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get notified every time I put a new video out. And I cannot do this without all of you. And I'm going to address this topic today because I am seeing a lot of my fellow host friends fall into this trap, and this is the tool that you need to utilize in order to avoid it. So let's get into it. Now, the reports came out last week that in the month of January, almost 82% of people who purchase cars purchase them above MSRP, which is crazy. And for those of you that are not familiar, MSRP is the suggested manufacturer price, right? That is the price that they want you to purchase the car at. But dealerships, because they are low on inventory and are limited to the amount of sales they can make because they don't have enough inventory, are now pricing these cars above MSRP so that they can make the most amount of margins possible per unit that they have on their lots, because they don't know how much access they're going to have to inventory. So it's just a crazy time that we're living in. Now, if you've been following along with me over the years, you know that one of the staples for putting cars on Turo, if you are purchasing them, is that typically you need to be able to get them anywhere between 15 to roughly 20 to 25% below MSRP. And the reason for that is because you have to remember, when you use a vehicle on the Turo platform, the utilization of that car is much, much higher than as if it was just you driving your car for personal use, right? So the amount of miles that you're accumulating on your Turo vehicle is much higher than personal usage, which means that the car is going to depreciate much, much faster than it normally would. Therefore, you need to buy the car at a great deal below MSRP to sort of counter that excessive depreciation that we experience so that you don't end up upside down on a vehicle. Now, this all depends on the strategy that you utilize going into your Turo business, right? There are some people that say, hey, well, you know what? I don't really care too much about the depreciation because I'm going to keep the vehicle through the life of the loan, which may be 5 to 6 years. Now, personally, I don't do that because once you hit that 3 to 4 year mark, or you get close to that 50, 60, 70,000 mile range, you end up having a lot of issues with the vehicle, which results in a lot of variable costs, which then eats away at your margins. And then it just kind of turns into a vicious cycle, right? So I like to stay away from that and stay in my cars while they're new and keeping them only for a couple years and then rotating out of them into newer vehicles, mainly because I want to preserve the experience that my guests have. I don't want them having cars that break down or have mechanical issues while they are out on their trip. So one of the tools that I utilize and that I'm going to screen share here is this depreciation calculator that I have found through caredge.com. It is awesome because, as you can see here on the screen, you can go ahead and plug in your make, model, and current vehicle age. So for our sample purposes here, I am going to utilize my Audi TT, right? It's one of the cars that I have in my fleet, so I'm kind of familiar with it. Now, let's say you are looking to finance a Audi TT and it's brand new. So we're just going to go ahead, plug in the Audi make right here. The model is TT, so you can pick whichever car you have. You can do this with me by going to caredge.com/depreciation. Now, for this example, we're going to make the assumption that the car is brand new, but if you're buying a used vehicle, you can just adjust the current age of the vehicle. The base price for an Audi TT these days is $50,500, and I would like to typically own it for about 3 years, which is how I usually do my vehicles. And let's say for Turo purposes, I usually estimate about 15,000 miles per year, which, is not the same for all hosts. So before you go ahead and make that assumption of how many miles you're going to use per year, you might be thinking to yourself, well, I don't know how many miles people are going to drive. That means you really have to do market research. A big reason why I know how many miles people drive per year is because I've been doing this for a long time and I've been tracking the mileage utilization in my area, right? And now I more or less know the type of activities people do, how far they typically drive, and how many miles accumulate in a year. But if you're thinking to yourself, well, hey, Saimah, I'm new, I'm just getting started. How the heck would I possibly know that? One of the best things you can do for market research is simply go and rent a vehicle from a fellow host in your area. Somebody who has accumulated a solid amount of trips. Let's say at least 30 to 40 trips would be my recommendation. Somebody whose profile has great reviews. Go rent a car from them and just have a simple conversation and kind of get an idea of, how much people are driving. The Turo host community is incredibly friendly and incredibly forthcoming with information. So I'm positive that you can do some quick market research and get the information that you're looking for, which is then going to help you make the best decision for your car. Okay, so now once you input all that information, what I love about the CarEdge website is that it is going to give you a depreciation breakdown, which is absolutely beautiful, and you need to know this information, right? So it's going to show you over the course of time, year 1, year 2, all the way through year 10, every year, roughly how much your car will depreciate. And should you look to exit out of your vehicle within year 3 or year 4, what that resale value is going to be. Now, the reason why that is so important is because this is going to help you determine if your monthly payments are, let's say, $500 a month. Then you can calculate over the span of 3 years, how much are you going to pay towards the car? And then you take that number and you subtract that from what is owed on the vehicle. And then you see, does the resale value match up to that? So that when you go to sell that car, you trade it in, are you going to be upside down? Are you going to be right side up? Or is your loan to value going to break even? This is so important because you don't want to be in a position to where you are extremely upside down on a vehicle, because that can be extremely hard to get out of. So that's why I like to look at this. I especially like to look at the resale value, and I like to look at which year that's on and how many miles the vehicle has on it, and that lets me know at which point I'm going to exit out of the car. So CarEdge is just a fantastic resource. I even love the little breakdown that they give here, right on top, which tells you an Audi TT will depreciate 32% after 3 years, and you'll have a 3-year resale value of 33,253, right? And let's just say, because of the market, things are tough right now, and maybe the resale value isn't going to be what you think it is, but your margins may be higher based on the market research that you've done than you anticipated. So maybe you can afford to pay a bit more into the loan, right? So right now, the reason why I wanted to make this video is because, yes, we know that the market is extremely wacky right now. Car prices are super high, but also resale values are high as well. You just want to make sure that you aren't disproportionately paying much higher prices on a vehicle when getting into it, right? So yes, things may be relative in terms of purchasing a car and then selling it, but there are a ton of dealerships, and right now it's like the wild, wild west out there. People are making up their own price points, and the demand is there, and they are selling these cars above MSRP. So you just want to make sure that you do your homework and you really understand the deal that you're getting into, because you have to remember, for Turo, the car rental day rates that we have, they don't proportionately increase just because car prices are high or used car prices are high. They don't really correlate, right? So you have to make sure that the car that you're getting into makes sense. And like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, So many host friends that I know are just trying to get into cars, right? So you get into cars that are priced very high. It eats away at your monthly margins. And then when you need to get out of the car, you end up being extremely underwater on it, right? You have too much negative equity. You owe way more than what that car is worth. And that is the situation that you want to avoid. So I truly believe that in this market, it takes a lot of patience and a lot of research and time to find the right deal, because it is harder to come across. Now, a couple of other tools that I want to recommend really quick, and we'll wrap this up, is there is a price trend graph on cargurus.com. And again, I'll post all of these links down in my description below. And this is just kind of gonna give you some insight into car prices, right? And which way the market is headed. So from time to time, I like to just come on here and just take a look at, like, for example, I tend to have cars that are convertibles or that are coupes. And I like to see, what are the price trends for these types of cars? Are prices increasing? Are they coming down? What is the market looking like? So I can sort of try to make the best decision when it comes to purchasing a vehicle and making sure that I'm getting the best possible car at the best possible price. And then the third tool that I absolutely love to use, which one of my mentors actually showed me, is on truecar.com/trade. If you go in to TrueCar, and let's say you're looking at a car, right? Oftentimes you can find the VIN number to that car available for sale. You go ahead, pop that VIN number into TrueCar, and then TrueCar is actually going to show you all the different options, in terms of color, type of wheels, maybe additional features. And it's going to show you, like, hey, if you get a red car, then the value of that car goes up by $1,500 because red is highly sought after on a car like a Corvette C8. So what you can then do is go ahead and find a car that matches all of the options that's going to build more value into your vehicle when it comes to time to sell that car or exit out of it. So I love to just run different scenarios through TrueCar and then find out what's the best combination of features and colors that I can get on a vehicle that is going to increase my resale value. That was one of the reasons why I got my Audi TT in red, because I saw on TrueCar that if an Audi TT was red or if it was yellow, it tended to be higher in value. So the resale value on those cars were good, which is why I opted to do a bright color on that car. All right, you guys, so I just wanted to share these tools and tips with you guys. I hope that you find them helpful in kind of helping you guys purchase cars. Let me just share one final tip with you guys before I go. Now, getting into Turo is, of course, you take on a lot of risk and liability, and you want to make sure that anytime you go into a business, you do your homework and you do your research. And this is one method of doing your research. Another great tip that I can give you before you even get to this step is, if you already have a car sitting at home on your driveway that you are not regularly utilizing, list it. Get a little bit of experience with renting that car out, get your feet wet and see how you like it. And if you do that and you rent it out and it goes well for you, then go ahead and take that next step into researching the market, figuring out a car that works best for you, and then figuring out, exactly what it's worth, what you should be paying for it. And that is really going to set you off on the right track when you are entering the Turo marketplace. So you want to go about it really by putting a lot of thought and effort into it. And if you want to learn more about it, check out my website, powerhost.club. I do have a full course on it, which I think that you will find of value, and it will walk you through the entire process of becoming a host and how to grow your business as well. Thanks again, you guys, for tuning in. Once again, my name is Saimah, and this is Saimah's Experience. It's been a pleasure talking to you guys today, and I will talk to you guys again very soon. Take care, everyone. Bye.